Mhm. So a weak emergent phenomenon would be, for example, let's see, the concept of temperature in gases, right? Because if you think of a gas as a collection of molecules that are moving around, like air molecules all over the place here are moving around, if you adopt a reductionistic approach and you say, let's look at one molecule of nitrogen or oxygen, there is no temperature in one molecule. Temperature is a collective effect of many molecules because they need to be interacting with one another. They need to have what we call an average velocity. And then there's an emergent property of a collection of molecules of a gas, which we can call the temperature of the gas. So one, two, three, five molecules don't have a temperature. But a gas in a room, which has a trillion or more molecules, then you can talk about this emergent property, which is the temperature, the same with pressure, etc. So you can talk about a global emergent behavior of a collection of many objects, which can be quantified by a single number, which is the temperature in this particular point in space of this gas, right? Um, Global emergence is very different because you can't tell the story from A to B, basically. When you have a weak emergent phenomenon, you're telling a story from A to B. Look, consider a molecule. Now consider 1,000 molecules, and they are scattering with one another, and they're going to have an average velocity. If it's very hot, they move faster. If it's very cold, they move slower. That's the temperature. The temperature is associated with the speed at which these things are moving. So there is a story you can tell, right? And with strong emergence, I'm going to use life as an example of strong
It's
emergence,
a
right?
very good example. Is that I was going to say donkeys or.
Right? I mean, how do you go from a bunch of organic molecules to an organism that has intentionality? You cannot tell that story from point A to point B. We have no idea how to connect those 2 points, right? Start with a bunch of proteins, assemble them in a little droplet of usually fat, lipids, and that thing becomes a protocell, and that little cell then decides decides that it needs to reproduce and metabolize energy from the environment. So meaning it becomes alive. That transition is not a story that we can tell, this is once upon a time, this started that way and then it goes that way. So this is a very simplistic way, but I think a very intuitive way but to me at least, distinguish between the weak and strong emergence in nature.